6 individuals spoke about Superintendent Kim Lingenfelter's resignation during the audience portion of Tuesday's Neligh-Oakdale Board of Education meeting.
Moving on to 10H, discussion of action to approve superintendent's letter of resignation. I'm going to begin with audience members.
Last Friday, I, along with many others, was saddened by the news of Mrs. Lingenfelter's resignation. I'm frankly disappointed by the treatment of her that ultimately led to her resignation. So I'm here to reiterate what she has done for our school from a student's perspective. One of the most amazing things Mrs. Lingenfelter has done as a superintendent is the way she makes every student feel like they serve a purpose in our school. She does a wonderful job of making personal connections with the students, whether it be starting a conversation with someone in the hallway or walking through the classrooms to see how we're doing. She's a woman who truly cares about every student and genuinely wants to see every student succeed. To ensure every student succeeds at school in Neligh-Oakdale, Mrs. Lingenfelter has taken the necessary measures to better our learning environment. She has purchased new textbooks to replace many of the extremely outdated ones we are having to use. She has also greatly increased the amount of technology available to us throughout the school. In her time, she has purchased iPads, laptops, and smartboards to enhance the way we learn. Technology is crucial to the way students are learning today. I took a distance learning class my sophomore year, one online class this semester, and we'll be taking 3 college credit online classes next semester, none of which would be possible if it weren't for her push on technology. In addition to the improvements in the classroom, Neligh-Oakdale's test scores have dramatically improved, largely due to Mrs. Lingenfelter's drive to make school learning and testing fun for the students by doing things such as holding pep rallies before tests. Mrs. Lingenfelter has created many incentives for the students to perform to the best of their abilities when test times roll around, and to motivate students to increase their school attendance record. Students who meet benchmark on standardized tests are not required to attend AYP time in the mornings from 8 o'clock to 8:20, but the students who do have to attend do greatly benefit from those 20 minutes. Because our test scores increased so dramatically this year, Mrs. Lingenfelter organized a movie party in school for everyone who is not on the failing list. While the test scores in Neligh-Oakdale are rising, the number of students on the failing list is steadily decreasing, thanks to the motivation Mrs. Lingenfelter has instilled in our student body. Finally, I would like to comment on her selflessness and how she's always willing to go the extra mile for her students. Recently, there were conflicts with gym usage, which left the dance team with no place to practice during crunch time. Luckily, we have a superintendent like Mrs. Neligh-Oakdale, who is gracious enough to allow our dance team to utilize her basement as a practice area. Her and Bert also bought us breakfast one morning, which was very nice. She served as our sponsor during those times we would use her basement, and I don't know of any other superintendents who would go that extra mile for their students. Although I'm a senior this year and will not be attending Neligh-Oakdale next year, I will be an alumni of this school, and I want to be proud to call Neligh-Oakdale my home. Mrs. Lingenfelter has done so much for this community, school, and our student body. It is imperative to our school that Mrs. Lingenfelter stay. I do not believe there is anyone out there who will do a better job than she has done. It is my opinion, as well as all the other students here with me today, that Mrs. Lingenfelter is a good fit for our school. She should be allowed to lead our school in the direction she has already started. I believe that either this school board or the school board who takes over in January, including Mr. Wright and Mr. Coinson, should offer Mrs. Lingenfelter an extension in her contract. This way we continue to benefit from her strengths and another district does not.
Thank you, Tara. Nancy?
I am also speaking on behalf of Ms. Lingenfelter's current resignation. The phone call I received last Friday made me sick to my stomach. What would our school do without Ms. Lingenfelter was the first thing that went through my head. Mrs. Lingenfelter has done more in her 3.5 years as a warrior than any superintendent we've had thus far. By saying that, I'm referring to test scores and the way we learn as a whole. Speaking on test scores, it's no secret to anyone that Neligh-Oakdale tested very well this year in their state tests. In every subject, our test scores and rankings as a school have improved incredibly and have proven to be on the road to continued improvement under Mrs. Lingenfelter. which is one of my multiple reasons why I chose to stand up for what I believe in, and what I believe in is Mrs. Lingenfelter. In the 2011-2012 testing season, Neligh-Oakdale tested 185 out of 248 in reading improvement, compared to the recent scores of where Neligh-Oakdale tested 79 out of 249. You do the math. Just like we did when we tested 7 out of 249 in math improvement, compared to the 2011-2012 season, where we tested 177 out of 248. You may ask how one person could make such a difference in the test scores of so many students, and the answer is simple. Mrs. Lingenfelter has improved the testing atmosphere, with pep rallies before testing weeks, which gives taking tests the feel of competition. We've made academics more competitive and instilled the want in me to do well on our tests. Another thing that I believe helped a lot was the AYP time that has been added to the schedule. Another push by Mrs. Lingenfelter. With AYP time, students struggling with the material on the state tests have extra time to study the material and get a better understanding of it, so they too can excel and score above benchmark. That time alone is another motivator to do well on tests. Students who test well have an optional study hall Monday through Thursday from 8 to 8:20. Otherwise are not required to report to first period until 8:20. 20 extra minutes of sleep is enough to motivate any teenager to test well. I admire her for finding different ways to motivate stubborn, hard-headed teenagers. Another thing I found shocking to discover was the curriculum, and how it was dealt with prior to Mrs. Lingenfelter. For those of you who are unaware of what I'm talking about, before her, our curriculum was stored on a floppy disk and hadn't been looked at in years. That all changed when she arrived. Now it's been reviewed and updated, and is online for parents and us as students to view at any time. This is one of the most convenient things to have as a student. I check this once to twice a week for my own benefit. I, along with many others, also use this to our own advantage. I use it to stay competitive in my academics as well as to stay organized, none of which would have been done without her push for technology. As a sophomore, I and a few of my classmates have the opportunity to take online classes that offer both high school and college credit. We are also offered free Apex classes to broaden our horizons and challenge us more. Again, none of which would have been possible without Mrs. Lingenfelter's push for technology. Being one of Ms. Lingenfelter's students, I can honestly say that I admire her for her ability to hold us all accountable. She sets the rules and holds each and every one of us accountable for them. Having that quality may have given her some enemies, but I can guarantee the students who don't want her to stay are the rule breakers, or the ones that are only here for a good time. Another thing I admire her for is her approachability. She is a very approachable person, and she interacts well with her students. She's constantly checking in on classrooms or roaming the halls. Her door is always open. Anyone can talk to her. Most of you here today are parents, and I know you all care about your children's educations. But I feel that Mrs. Lingenfelter would be a key asset in making their experience in school the best it could be. And they would get the most out of their education here at Neligh-Oakdale with her here to guide them. That is why I and the student body in front of you today, as well as the ones who unfortunately couldn't make it here due to weather, believe she should be offered the option to continue her work at Neligh-Oakdale, regardless of previous misunderstandings. We are asking you to renew Mrs. Lingenfelter's contract in the best interest of the students and school as a whole, rather than overlook her for past events. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone has misunderstandings with others. She's a human being, and so are all of you. She's been responsible for every child in the school, and I feel she's done a wonderful job. Mr. Wright, Mr. Coinson, we as students believe Mrs. Lingenfelter is what is best for our educations and our school.
My name is Alex Kirkman. I'm here to give my support on the rehiring of Ms. Lingenfelter. As a student looking in on all of this, the biggest thing I feel needs to be done is for everyone to overlook the bond on making a decision to offer Ms. Lingenfelter a new contract. The question you may want to ask yourself, would a few of you members even be here right now, or would we even be thinking about re-signing her contract if it wasn't for the bond? Let's look at the bigger picture and what she has all done for this school. Looking from a student's aspect, you could ask any student that attended this high school before she came superintendent. Neligh was frowned upon. No one took any pride here. Academically, we were one of the worst in the state. Our test scores were garbage, and people from other towns never would have wanted their child to come here and go to school. Since Ms. Lingenfelter has filled the superintendent spot, our test scores are skyrocketing. We've become one of the better schools in the state. Our failing list is almost a night and day difference, and most of all, there's a sense of pride in our school, something we haven't had in a long time. She's not like a lot of superintendents. She doesn't sit in her office. She goes out classroom to classroom, interacting with students making sure the teachers and students are making the most out of their academics. She offers incentives to succeed with pep rallies, awards for high test scores such as movie days, awards for perfect attendance, including a chance to win $100. I feel parents and kids want their kids to get an education here, and I, along with others, feel this is all thanks to her. Everything that she has done is all in the kids' best interest so she can better our education. Please strongly consider rehiring her. It truly is in the best interest of our school and our community's pride as a whole if we wish to succeed. Thank you.
Jason.
For those of you who may not know me, my name is Jason Krebs. I have 3 sons with ages 15, 11, and 8 in the Neligh-Oakdale school system. I'm here this evening to ask the existing school board members and the newly elected school board members to ask Kim Lingenfelter to please reconsider her decision to resign and be willing to reinforce that request by offering Kim a new contract to remain a superintendent of the Neligh-Oakdale school system. I feel that Kim has been truly and genuinely committed to this school, the students, and the future of both during her first 3 years of service. She has brought a renewed interest and accountability for both the teaching and the learning within this facility. The success has become visible in every student that walks through these doors. Her commitment to our school, the staff, and our children is certainly nothing I want to lose. I therefore ask that our current school board members and the newly elected school board members please encourage Ms. Lingenfelter to reconsider her decision and reinforce that by offering her a new contract as superintendent of Neligh-Oakdale. I encourage anyone else with the same feelings as myself to please raise your hand in support. Thank you.
My name is April Canus, and I am the school counselor here, and I also am in support of Kim Lingenfelter. Our academics, she does what's best for all students. Our curriculum, Kinsley talked about it. We haven't looked at curriculum in 14 years. Our CIP, which is school improvement, all of our teachers currently know what the school improvement process is because we've all been a part of it, and we all get to make decisions on it. Kim is passionate about kids and education, and she pushes us all to do better. As Jason alluded, she holds us all accountable, not just kids, but teachers. She is an asset to our district, and I am disheartened to see someone who is progressive leave our school. We haven't had progression or a progressive leader for a long time, and we are looking towards the future, and there is a lot of pride here, as Alex said.
My name is Greg Coinson. You'll have to forgive me. I'm speaking off the cuff, unlike many others tonight. This is a skill that my teacher, Mr. Gill, taught me, and I highly doubt that he'll take responsibility for my actions tonight. First of all, my heart goes out to the students that are here tonight. I am looking up to you. My heart goes out to you. You remind me of myself and Corey Firstnock. When we were told that we were losing our ag program, we came to a similar school board meeting in this very room to voice our opinions because our hearts were pure and it was true and what we believed in. And your cause is noble, and my heart goes out to you because you're trying to do what's best. Furthermore, I have some questions for the audience tonight. Questions for the students, questions for the parents, questions for the board members. When you go home tonight, ask your parents whether they ever quit their high school football team, whether they ever quit their high school basketball team or their volleyball team because they were a senior and maybe a sophomore girl the coach felt was better equipped to do that. Ask them if these decisions affected their life. Ask your parents, ask your students, ask each other, have you ever quit a job without having another job? And how did that affect your family? every decision you make has a consequence. How did it affect the JV, the senior who was a wrestling student, who was told he had to go to JV because the sophomore was just better than him? And what happened after that to that person? Did that make him a stronger person? Ask yourself these things. Ask your parents that. Your parents, ask your students. Tell yourself. Everyone's quit something. In closing, I have a simple observation from a sale barn employee. The things in life that are the very hardest are the best. And they don't matter whether you succeed or you fail. They have a funny way of just being the best things you do in life. The hardest things never or seldom involve quitting. I thank you for your time very much tonight.